Jack Eichel getting a goal there. Buffalo released their Winter Classic jerseys yesterday too.
Ugly too, right?
No, they look phenomenal.
Oh, you like them?
They look phenomenal.
Oh, I thought you didn't like them or something.
They should be their normal jerseys, and we'll get to Dennis.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was very exciting what you did there, by the way, too.
Hello?
I am looking for the legendary Dennis Maruk.
Speaking.
It's Mike Richards calling from rawmkerichards.com.
That's pretty good.
I'll tell you what. I'm calling this segment now, Dennis. Where's Dennis? That's what the segment's called. Need to know where you are, where because I know with the book you're all over the place. So why don't you tell us where you're headed?
Today I'm headed to Kitchener. Yeah.
Kitchener.
Later.
Now is that
later.
Is that a Dennis Maruk stronghold? Are they part of the Maruk army in Kitchener?
Oh, I don't know. It's it's for Easter Seals. We have a draft tonight, and then the team that we play with that team all day Friday.
Now, for those kinds of events, but also because I see that your book's all over the place, how is that going? Are you enjoying the process? Because I know you have to go to a lot of places and do a lot of book signings.
Things are going pretty good. We're just we have that launch this Saturday at the bottom line. It's it's not a private, it's open. The Caps are playing the Leafs, so I thought it'd be a good idea. My friend Wayne Cowley's got his place there, and a lot of sports people go there. So before the game, so we're going to have a little set up there between 4:30 and 7 on Saturday. Hoping to get some the Caps fans that are in town will be able to come and see me, buy a book, and get an autograph and get it signed by me.
Well, you talk about Caps fans, and I know a couple of them. They're an interesting breed because for a long time, obviously, there wasn't the kind of success that they wanted, and now during the regular season, they tend to be one of the dominating teams. But this year they go into it, and you almost feel like Dennis, the team is a little gun shy. They have been so good for so long, and a lot of people thought last year might have been the best team that they've ever had. What do you think when you hear stuff like that?
Well, it's kind of like, do you have the right personnel when you get into the playoffs? I think there was the Governor's Cup, the President's Cup last few years, and they should not win it. The team that's won it doesn't necessarily win the Stanley Cup. So maybe this year, by them just getting into the playoffs, maybe they'll have a better chance of winning the Stanley Cup. But they can't get by Pittsburgh. They've the last had time against. They haven't been able to get by them. Pittsburgh's beat them, and Pittsburgh's gone on to win the Stanley Cup. So is it their withdrawal, whatever? I don't know. I think it's sometimes in the playoffs, certain guys got to step up compared to the big name guys. Your third, fourth line to even talk to Crosby and talk to the teams that have won the Stanley Cups. It's players that you don't hear much about the regular season that excel in the playoffs, and I don't think the Capitals have had that with their other players that are not really counted on during the season. I'm not blaming them for it, but it just has not happened for them.
Do you think some of the criticism of Alexander Ovechkin? Do you think it's fair?
Oh, I don't think it's fair. I think he's a great hockey player. I don't think one guy can. Wayne Gretzky will always say that when they won the Stanley Cup, it was the third. Greg McTavish, McClellan, all those guys that Lindsman, all the guys that played and that were not didn't play a lot during the season. But when they came to playoffs, it was crunch time because these guys had to step up and to do it. I think people should just leave him alone. He wants to win the Stanley Cup just like any other NHL player that's there. And one guy just can't do it. Crosby can't do it on himself. He never did. Kessel played well, Malk, and all those guys that go down the list. So it's a whole team effort, and that's what's going to win it. I mean, I would have loved that have been on a team that had an opportunity to do it. We were close with Minnesota, but we weren't strong enough against the Oilers. Look at they had a powerhouse, but we had a good team and we had a close opportunity, but it just didn't work out.
You know, the Maple Leafs, they lose last night, but it's a long season. They're only a quarter of the way
Yeah.
into it. But when you see like some of the almost incredible improvements they've had over the last couple of years, to your way of thinking, how many players are they short of being that dominant team? Because they are so young. I don't think they're finished building yet. What do you see as a shortcoming that this young team has?
Well, you just said it. You don't think the building is they're still building on that right now. I think that they've always said, and I've had as the mature defenseman. That every team wants that, not just the Toronto Maple Leafs, but they got to work with what they've got, and their goaltender is good, and they've got good young. Look at their record right now. They've got the third most wins in the league. Who would ever think that they thought they would have had this by now? They've got 14 wins. Yeah, they lost last night, a close one, but that happens. Teams that are struggling and not playing well, they're going to maybe tightly check teams that are explosive and try and make it a close game, and that's exactly what happened with Florida. And to lose to Arizona played them tight, didn't give them a lot of room play, and anybody can win. So you've got to. So I think with Toronto, I would say once they get their line combinations correct, and stay healthy. I think it would be the addition of a mature defenseman. Yeah.
I also think they need the Maruk mustache, but I'll tell you, some of them are so some of them are so young they can't grow one.
They need a guy like Wendell Clark. I mean, we're tough competitors. Yeah, I know I scored, but we were chippy, tough hockey players, and they need a guy like that. I mean, Martin's a tough guy now, but Wendell can score, can play and hit and all that, and a real gritty guy like that. And I think that's what they're missing a little bit too up front, that they don't have that meanness, that toughness that he brought to the team. And I think that's partly what they're missing. But yeah, they could use a Maruk mustache in there. I always wanted to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I'm cheering for them. I cheered for them when I played in the NHL. I tried to get traded, and it didn't work. Lou Nanny wouldn't trade me there.
Can you imagine what this city would look like if the Leafs ever, and maybe they're getting closer to winning a Stanley Cup? I can't imagine what the city would be like. Can you imagine?
Just the playoffs. I mean, just right now you can see a big excitement too. They had a great start, and they're going to keep winning games, and to get in the playoffs is the key, and you never know what could happen. And as I said, there could be guys that when they get in the playoffs will dominate in the playoffs that weren't really dominating players in the regular season. That happens. That's going to happen. And if the Leafs can just get in there, just like Washington, same thing, get in there and have your third or fourth line guys take over, it's amazing what they can do.
Hey, Dennis, thanks so much for joining. It's always a pleasure. We'll make sure that we do this again because I like the segment. Where's Dennis? I need to know.
I'm in Toronto. I'm all good. Yeah. Where's Dennis? Dennis is great. He's happy, and the book launches out. Get on Amazon.ca. It's a great read, great Christmas gift, and I've heard great comments about the book, and myself and Ken Reed with the Sports did an awesome job putting it together, and it was a lot of fun doing it too.
Hey, great hearing from my friend. Have a good time out in a great weekend in Kitchener with Easter Seals, and we'll make sure we catch up with you again real soon, Dennis.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. All right.
That is Dennis Maruk, the legendary Dennis Maruk, joining us here, and he's going to be this time in Kitchener for the great cause of Easter Seals.
What? We just become best friends? Yep.